Very good afternoon to you, Themba. So earlier we spoke to a member of the ZANU-PF here in South Africa, and the question I put to him was, is Zimbabwe a country in crisis? He doesn't believe so. What do you think?
No, it's not a country in crisis. There is Brexit happening. Is the UK in a crisis? No. There is the shutdown in America. Is in a crisis? No. These are part of the processes of governance at the end of the day. But let's also look at the economic situation in Zimbabwe, which I think is what needs to be addressed. And I think this is where I think the price increments were okay. But I think what was important was to also come up with a commensurate structure that would also ensure that the civil servants were also paid in terms of their salaries going up. It does not make sense to increase fuel at the same time you don't increase the salaries of the people. I think this is what needs to be discussed, the economic situation. Where are we coming from? A legacy issue as well. We have legacy problems coming from the time when the former President Mugabe was in power. We're moving in now with the President Idi Mnangagwa in power. How does it synchronize that to ensure that there is smooth flowing? From an economic point of view, there was corruption. When the former President Mugabe was in power, he didn't do much of it, and that crippled the economy in a big way. I chaired the Mines and Energy Committee then, where we also came up with a 15 billion inquiry into the diamond mining sector, which went missing as per the former president's statement. We wanted to find out how that could go missing, and answer still has not come to that. Moving into the ED era, is corruption still rampant? What is he doing about it? Are people benefiting? Zimbabwe is open for business. How much business has come into Zimbabwe to ensure that the economy also grows? So these are some of the issues that the government needs to answer to. At the same time, there must be rule of law, but rule of law applies to both the citizens and the government at the end of the day. There is a constitution in place.
Allow me to come in here. You talk about how there needs to be a discussion about how the fuel price hike should not have come into effect with other hikes, but surely then those discussions should have been had before the fact.
I think the issue is that the fuel hike was necessary because Zimbabwe's fuel was going for at least 25 to 30 cents, which is impossible. Because if you look at how much they're paying the fuel, buying the fuel for, and how much is being sold. So we have the tracks, and the security forces have the information, which were then buying fuel from Zimbabwe and exporting to Malawi, going through Zambia to the DRC. And that's something that is not sustainable, because anybody else in the world would just come and buy fuel cheap in Zimbabwe and get it out, which means that a shortage is likely to happen. So that matter needed to be addressed with the security forces. And then you now have a situation where the fuel prices have gone up so that it moves in with the RTGS system, which is in Zimbabwe. Then you cannot bring it up, take it up, when the salaries of the people have gone up, because there's no buying power for them. Because fuel is a critical indicator in terms of where the economy is going and how you should benchmark the price.
Can you say then that this fuel hike has delivered on its intended purpose, given that shortly after the announcement there were queues at petrol stations in Zimbabwe? We've covered a number of Zimbabweans driving into South Africa to buy fuel here, to buy it in either containers or indeed fill up their tanks directly. So how does that play into the bigger picture as far as managing that situation?
I agree with you. I think the fuel shortage, as I've alluded to, is a result of companies outside Zimbabwe buying it cheaper and taking it out. There becomes a crisis. There becomes panic buying from the citizens of the Zimbabwe. As a result, what is then needed, what was then needed was the government to hike the price so that fuel could be available. But unfortunately, with the demonstrations which happened and the violence which happened, the trucks that carry fuel were not able to then deliver fuel to the relevant police service stations. But once the situation is normalized, there will be enough fuel and people will be able to pay for fuel at the right price, meaning that the service providers and who provide the fuel then don't make a loss. So unfortunately, the demonstration and the violence which happened now created this mayhem. But allow it to things stabilize. The next thing is for the government to then come up with another measure to see how best the people can now afford that fuel with the salaries that they have.
Hold on, Themba. So are you saying that Zimbabweans overreacted in the protests that we saw this week? Is that what you're saying?
To me,
you are saying that's resulted in the mayhem?
To me, it was totally unacceptable, the behavior that we showed. We are very respected in terms of who we are from a literate point of view, and that was barbaric. We were worse than baboons. I think we have a constitution in place which allows us to demonstrate peacefully, and the current regime has allowed that to happen. Unlike the Mugabe era, you couldn't allow it to happen. So when people go and damage goods and property from innocent people, what has an innocent person got to do with the fuel hike? It is the government that you must attack. You cannot attack any innocent person. And that basically invites the police and the army on the streets to ensure that there is rule, there's law, there's peace and order.
So we're hearing today from the NGOs that at least 12 people have been confirmed dead. Majority of the reports say these are protesters who were killed by police. Are you saying then, if these are indeed people who were killed by the police, that the force used on the protesters was proportionate and warranted? And secondly, democracy enshrines, doesn't it, the right to demonstrate? So it is perhaps unfair to say to people that this is not the way to go about it if you are unhappy.
I totally agree with you. Democracy allows for one to demonstrate, but peaceful demonstration. Peaceful demonstration which you apply to the authorities, and they give you the necessary backup of the police in case it gets out of order. Because what happens, you also have people who take advantage of this, start looting. Look at Pick and Pay. Okay, look at Choppies. These are established businesses that are doing business in Zimbabwe.
Was the killing of protesters warranted? Very quickly.
To me, the police, in terms of the Constitution, have got the right to use minimum force. And minimum force can be to protect other citizens. If it means shooting, no wonder why you see that there is no police officer that's taken to court when it comes to that. Because you've got to look at what was happening in Zimbabwe. Buildings were being burnt. Government vehicles were being burnt. Innocent people's vehicles and properties were being burnt. The people were now behaving like toll gates, where they're asking for people. It was not a demonstration because they were preventing people from equally demonstrating. You cannot say there's democracy when you are then saying to somebody, don't go to work forcibly. No, allow the people to exercise their rights too. You have no right to infringe on anybody's right and saying, no, Tambikile, you can't go to work, we are barricading you today. That's not a demonstration. That is something which has a third hand in it. Zimbabweans have no capacity to be able to do that, knowing very well that we're an educated people, we enjoy our democracy, and to me the government did not stop anybody from demonstrating, but these are hooligans, barbaric people who are in the forefront of tarnishing the image of the country. And as a legislator, I certainly support the peaceful activities that
So in short, you're saying the people who were killed during the demonstrations deserve to die? Yes or no? Is that what you're saying?
To me, what I'm saying at the end of the day is that people...
Yes or no, Thembamli? So are you saying the people who were shot during the demonstrations deserve to die? Is that what you were saying?
To me, I think it is important for us to understand that there is...
Yes or no? Are you saying they're right to have killed those people if it was indeed police who killed the protesters? Is that what you're saying?
To me, I don't know whether it's the police who killed the protesters. If there's going to be a commission of inquiry...
But you're saying they were barbaric. And that's why we have not seen police arrested in the past for shooting at demonstrators, if that is indeed what happened here. So that is what
I cannot say. I cannot
yes
say.
Or no,
I cannot.
Are you saying if it was indeed police who killed these people, they were right to have done so?
To me, there's got to be a commission of inquiry again that has got to find out who killed the people. Because I think were they innocent? Were they not innocent? We now have to go for another commission.
All right, you've already called them barbaric, so I suppose whatever comes from the commission, we'll have to hear what you say to that. But Thembamli, Zimbabwe Independent Member of Parliament, thank you for your time.